Good morning, good afternoon. Apologies for the delay. We had a slight technical problem. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the Forrester Research and Litmus7 webinar on AI and machine learning for high-performance e-commerce. I'm Shomak Roy, Head Digital Advisory Services at Litmus7. I think a little background would be useful. We are a specialist IT services company 100% focused on retail. We run the core e-commerce engines at Walmart, Mexico's, Petco, and Sephora. We are among the top 3 ID service providers to Sephora. So we want this webinar to be a guide, a very practical, hands-on guide that you can actually use based on our client experience. Too often what happens at webinars and conferences is that you talk about and hear about a lot of cool new technology, but when you go back to your desk, they're not that relevant anymore. That's not what we want this webinar to be. We want this to be information that you can actually use. So a couple of housekeeping announcements before I introduce you to our speakers. There's a Q&A button at the bottom. I encourage you to use it. Also, we'll have a couple of polls that will help you benchmark where you stand vis-a-vis your peers on the AI and machine learning journey. And last and most importantly, we are very fortunate to have 2 retail veterans with us today. First is our guest speaker, Sucharita Kodali, VP and Principal Analyst at Forrester Research. She's one of the most well-renowned industry analysts working in retail today. I also have my colleague, Lior Gerson, Chief Innovation Officer at Litmus7. Lior has built the tech behind some of the most successful e-commerce startups in the world. I'll let the 2 speakers introduce themselves. Sucharita, why don't you set the ball rolling?
Thank you, Shomak. My name is Sucharita Kodali, and I cover e-commerce and retail at Forrester Research. I've been at Forrester for the better part of the last decade, and I've been working with retailers and technology companies that support those retailers. Lior?
Hi, I'm Lior. I've been one of the founders of mysupermarket.com. It's been one of the most successful e-commerce platforms in the UK, been a very disruptive company, leading the charge of new technologies, getting into the market there. And later, I was founder and CTO of Vroom.com. Vroom.com is the biggest online car dealership in the States today, grossing over $2 billion this year. So let's get started.
So I will start with a high-level definition of artificial intelligence and machine learning, because I think it's important to level set and just make sure that we're all on the same page with respect to what we're talking about. The official Forrester definition of artificial intelligence is that it refers to the theory and capabilities that strive to mimic human intelligence through experience and learning. And the key operative part of the expression here is mimicking human intelligence, and that's why technologies like voice assistants are often considered AI tools. Now, a bit of an overlap with AI is machine learning, which we will talk about as well through a significant part of this presentation. And we can go to the next slide. Machine learning is more about automating a lot of the data crunching that happens in business and certainly in retail as well. While artificial intelligence is about ultimately creating those outputs that are similar to what a human would do, machine learning is really one that covers 4 different buckets across 2 axes. And on one set of axes, you have unsupervised and supervised learning. Supervised learning, and of course, there are all kinds of different types of statistical tools that one can use that are encompassed within the area of machine learning. But supervised really means that there is a specific output that is being sought after, and it is one in which there are really defined data sets and really defined outputs that match those data sets. And then you also have categorical and continuous types of data. And that really refers to what sorts of information that you have that you can work with. Categorical is very structured data that has really specific a very specific format, and continuous data tends to be a little bit less structured, and it can yield some slightly different outputs. Now, if we were to look at market research and areas within retail that machine learning applies, there are absolutely use cases that already exist and that are relatively commonplace. Within the bucket of continuous supervised machine learning, we have forecasting. Within categorical supervised learning, we have churn and propensity analyses. Within unsupervised continuous learning, you end up with segmentation, because you'll have data points that get put into a model, and then ultimately whatever surfaces from cluster analysis is what ultimately surfaces, and it may not necessarily jive with any preconceived notions that you may have had as to your customer base. And then unsupervised categorical machine learning are product recommendations, which are relatively commonplace in retail right now. Next slide.
So Sucharita, this is really interesting. I think the overarching subject above all these algorithms is that the organization strives to become a learning organization that collects data, that analyzes it, and that becomes smarter over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great point, Lior. One of the elements of machine learning and artificial intelligence that is really, really potent is the ability to deliver against so many of the hot topics that retailers find important to their businesses on a daily basis. And we know that conventional approaches to things like personalization or returns management have been tried for many, many years, but retailers often hit a wall with the value that they often get from them. Just to share some of the data points of the pain points and the problems that retailers will often face. The first bullet is just that over 50% of digital experts and digital executives say that they don't have the right technology to really deliver great personalization in retail. And even amongst those that do, it often is not personalization that customers often find welcome or that they find delivers them a better experience. Returns are at least 8% of all purchases in commerce, and it can be even higher depending on the category that you're looking at, whether it's soft goods or apparel. We know that stockouts are also a big, big problem in retail. Lior will share some information about some of the data that he's seen in his retail experiences, but we have about 4% of stockouts being a problem for a category as specific as grocery. And what that means is that consumers are specifically spearfishing for an item in a store, either online or offline, and they can't find what they're looking for. And perhaps one of the biggest expenses of retail is markdowns, which are the discounts that are taken in the middle of the season, often at the end of the season, which are a result of too much inventory being ordered or inventory being mispriced in the course of its purchase. So these are just a few of the examples of opportunities where data and machine learning tactics can help to support to improve the overall productivity, not just of the retail store, but of the customer experience as well. Lior?
Yeah, so we are going to, there are many, many applications of AI and machine learning that can affect your business. We're going to focus on 6 use cases. The first is anomaly detection and how tracking anomalies throughout your organization can improve your goals and KPIs. The second is the future of testing and conversion optimization. So this has been around for a very long time, and new technologies and new platforms are making it easier than ever to optimize your conversion and improve your bottom line. The third is going to be personalized product recommendations that make sense. We've seen a lot of issues with big and sophisticated retailers implementing recommendations, and we have some suggestions to help you do a better job at it. And the fourth is going to be predictive inventory planning. How do you stop the problem of customers getting missing items when they order online? Then we're going to talk about keeping your priorities straight with lead and ticket scoring and routing, so that opportunities are being handled by the reps that can close them with the best conversion rates. Last, we're going to talk about NLP, natural language processing, and how to make sure that people find what they're looking for when they're searching on your site. So let's start with anomaly detection. Usually anomaly detection is considered for malware, for security, for fraud detection. But what we found when we developed Vroom.com, because we had to create a business that performs better than any other business, better than the competition and better than the industry average. What we found was that through passing all the business data, all the metrics, the nominal metrics, the relative metrics, across all departments, marketing, sales, IT, fulfillment, we were able to get much better results. So there are many, many use cases where you can see this happen. Imagine that you're launching a campaign, and that campaign is generating 3 times as much traffic as you're used to, but you're not seeing that that result replicate in the conversion to actual transactions. So you'll go to your head of IT and you'll ask him, hey, what's going on? Is something wrong with the system? And that can lead up to hours upon hours and days of engineers and people trying to figure out what's wrong with the system. And maybe everything's okay. Maybe the traffic is just poor quality, but it's going to be very hard to find that out. And the same goes for any department. Sales, you have a bunch of, you have a normal number of incoming phone calls that get routed to the salespeople, but they're not converting as well. So anomaly detection is going to make it very easy for you to find out if something's wrong with the quality, if something's wrong with a specific salesperson, is he not performing that well, or maybe something great is happening. So there are a lot of third parties that do a great job working with anomaly detection today. We've used Anadot and Chorus AI before, and we found that they had great results. You're still going to need an integration partner to make sure that everything you need can funnel into those systems and that gets you the best results. But this is highly recommended. So Sucharita, do you have anything to add on this?
Yeah, the great thing about and the important thing about anomaly detection is that it is critical to integrate this into virtually every system you have, whether it is an order management system or a content management system or even into your web analytics to surface anything that could just be looking funny. It's often perceived to be something that is about fraud management or fraud detection or checkout flaws, but often there are anomalies that especially as you get into a bigger and bigger website, are more difficult to surface. Like, for instance, if there is content missing on certain product detail pages, or if there is an issue with a certain type of transaction that may be attempted on the website. And any way that you can surface this type of information, the better, because as Lior said, this can help with replicating problems later on. Often customers will call into a call center or send an email with an issue that they've experienced, but then it's very, very difficult for the IT team to replicate it. By looking at any type of anomaly and really getting exceptions reports ahead of time, there is a better chance that you'll be able to get ahead of what is potentially a bigger problem that could really be suppressing your overall conversion rate. Back to you, Lior.
Thanks. So conversion optimization has become child's play. A/B testing has been around for a very long time. And it's been sort of a chore for marketing people. They have to make up theories about what's going to work. They have to manage the tests. They have to track it. They have to allocate traffic. They have to balance different tests to make sure that they're getting the right results. And that's sort of a hassle. And we've seen new platforms coming out like Dynamic Yield and Sentient AI that take all the heavy lifting out of that process. So basically, a marketing director or an engineer can set up as many variants as he wants across any number of online properties, his website, his mobile app, landing pages, you name it. And the system will automatically define the tests, runs them, applies the results, and make sure that your customers are and your visitors are converting at the best optimal way that they can. And this is like multi-testing, multi-variant testing. They do a great job at it, and we've seen results that are in the 10 and 20 and 30% increase in conversion. Another company that I want to talk about is TapReason. TapReason uses AI to find the best time, the best moment for an event to happen. Let's say you want to increase your app rating in the App Store. So it's always a question of when is the best time to ask a user to rate your app. Let's say you want to promote a product and recommend a product to a shopper. When is the best time to highlight that product? Is it in the checkout? Is it during the search? Is it on your homepage? TapReason takes all of that thought process out. You enter whatever you want to promote, and they will find the right time when to show that message based on hundreds of parameters. It could be the weather, it could be where he is browsing from, it could be his profile properties, it could be his search history. They'll make sure that he gets that action done and that he converts as best as he can. Sucharita?
Yes, testing, of course, has been around for a long time. The big difference, I think, between, say, the last decade and now is the degree to which automation is possible and the degree to which different inputs are now possible. And that is really what Lior is talking about, is the ability to ingest all of this information in real time and to be able to execute the testing, kind of in a very, very automated fashion. Now, the flip side of this is that there are certain types of merchants that may be more open to this type of execution. If you are a type of company that has a lot of brand restrictions and you can't just allow an algorithm to run on its own because different variations often need to be manually approved, something like this may be less useful than some of the other approaches that we talked about, like anomaly detection. But for those that are looking to scale very quickly, have huge data sets or huge product just inventory available in the store, and you need to figure out what combination of different tactics works best. That's where this can be very, very helpful. Also, as Lior mentioned, there are a lot of behind-the-scenes personalization, things like the time of day that you deliver something. That can be incredibly valuable for everybody, because that's not something necessarily that requires visual approval, because it's not something that necessarily affects the brand quite in the same way. Back to you, Lior.
Okay. Thanks. So now we're going to talk about personalization and the amazing growth that you can get from doing the right type of personalization. So we're at Litmus7 working with some of the best retailers out there. We're constantly seeing problems and mistakes when making recommendations. This could be a pet retailer that will offer you or recommend cat food when you're looking at accessories for dogs. It could be a fashion retailer that will recommend women's clothing when you're set in your profile as a man and looking at men's clothing. So this happens all over. The problem is even more severe or more common when retailers don't know who you are as a visitor, as a user on their site, where you're an anonymous visitor, and they don't have any information on you except your clickstream and your traffic source. They don't even activate the recommendation. They just do like a default. And that's a shame, because that accounts for 90% of their traffic. So 90% of the traffic of most retailers are not getting any type of personalized experience. And what we found is that with relatively ease in relatively cheap methods, you can develop algorithms, develop methods to change that and create that personalized experience on your website, both for anonymized visitors and for identified visitors. And this could very, very efficiently increase your bottom line. We know that people love getting those recommendations when they're at the right time and with the right item in mind. And we know that it also gives them a very positive impression of the retailer and the experience. Now, when you make that investment into those type of algorithms, it's not a one-time off. It's just something you constantly improve, and you can use and capitalize on that investment in your in-store experience, on your online, mobile, on your marketing channels, on your social experience, and much more. Sucharita, any thoughts on this?
Yeah, that was a great overview from Lior, and the importance of different outputs and where this information is communicated, and sometimes maybe even varying that information based on where the inputs are showcased, whether it's on a mobile device or whether it is at checkout or whether it's an email. All of these elements are incredibly critical to be thinking about, because different images and different recommendations can render differently. Some of the opportunities that also are critical to keep in mind is that some personalization engines have historically just relied on information that may be backward looking on what consumers may have done in the past. And what we're finding, certainly with some of the more sophisticated engines, are more of a real-time dynamic approach that is not just about cooking a customer and showcasing them recommendations for products they may have purchased in the past, or things that they may have searched for in the past, but items and elements that are very, very relevant to a search right now. And particularly for retailers that have large product catalogs and have a variety of different categories, this is particularly critical because each new session could be it could be even a different person from that household who's looking at that content, but it often is a different use case or a different solution that they may be looking to solve. And it is critical to use cues from search results and search terms and browse behavior to really surface that in real time, and to indicate what may be the best and most relevant recommendations to a shopper at any given moment in time, insofar as you know information about that particular session. Back to you, Lior.
Yeah, so absolutely. I'm not saying that this is easy. It requires an investment. It requires you to really understand your customers, their profiling at the individual level, and understand every item in your inventory in regards to how it's being used. How does a family of 3 versus a family of 5 consume shampoo? How long will it take them to run out? And how many SKUs of shampoo are they keeping in the household? But analyzing these patterns will give you like superpowers. You'll be able to predict when a shopper needs his next item and how to best promote and engage him in that online transaction. So next, we're going to talk about inventory planning and how to bottom up plan your inventory. What we've seen is that, and at my supermarket, we worked with almost all the retailers in the UK, and we've seen this as a problem that happens across the board with every retailer, and over years upon years, there has not been a serious improvement of that problem. So if you're buying a shopping basket of 60 or 70 items per week, on average, 4% of your order is going to be out of stock. And most of these items are items from your favorites. They're items that you're shopping for every week. So that's a huge loss for the retailer, because either the customer is not picking up those items, or he's picking up replacement, which he's not necessarily happy with. This reduces his satisfaction, and is one of the core reasons why shoppers in the UK and in the US switch retailers, because they have options. They can order from any retailer, and most of the retailers will deliver to their house. So if you don't have what the shopper wants, you're in trouble. Now, historically, the way inventory planning works is that you look at statistics and you look at the planned offers, and you try to make a guess on how much you're going to need. What we're suggesting, what we're working at with Litmus7 with our customers, is flipping that pyramid, is creating algorithms that will analyze the individual shopper to make sure that whatever he is used and wants and is expected to buy, is predicted to buy in his next session, will be available on the shelf when we predict his next session is going to happen. So if Walmart knows that I need to buy a specific brand of dishwasher detergent, and that my next planned, or my next expected planned shopping visit is going to be in 5 days, they can make sure that they're going to have that SKU on the shelf for me when I get there. Sucharita, any thoughts on this?
Absolutely. This is, I think, one of the most important things that retailers can work on. And this is where data and insights and real-time data can make such a big difference. The truth is that retailers often don't know what they don't know about items that consumers are looking for. The only way that retailers currently know that now is if an item has sold out. In many cases, items may just not be visible to customers. In some cases, consumers are looking for things, and the retailer doesn't have that visibility into why they left, and if there was a specific item that they may be looking for. In particular, if the name and the taxonomy of what a shopper calls something is different from what a retailer may be identifying the item. So those kinds of things are incredibly rich troves of detail and insight. And to be able to glean that information, to synthesize it into structured reporting, and to provide that information back to the merchandising team of an organization can be incredibly impactful. And if there are fixable problems, like certain items aren't showing up, or if there are items that simply are being surfaced in the wrong places, this is the type of insight that can be incredibly valuable to helping resolve this issue. If retailers could solve the out-of-stock issue and the stock-out issue, that would be a single-handedly a boon to their businesses, and would drive at least low single-figure comps for most retail organizations. Back to you, Lior.
Thank you. So next, we're going to talk about machine learning and how it can help your CRM and support center to improve your sales conversion and your NPS. So at Vroom, we were getting a ton of leads. We had about 200-300 sales reps in the call center, and we're getting tens of thousands of leads inbound every day from aggregators like Cars.com, AutoTrader, CarGurus. And we had to face a problem of how do we know which leads are the highest value and that we should focus on. And that's been a major concern for a long time. Initially, we had the team cherry pick leads. Then we tried some naive algorithms to try and predict which leads were higher value, and do like classes of scoring to prioritize which leads they are going to handle. But what we found is that was not good enough, because there's a lot of money that could be left on the table here. And it's something that a lot of companies, a lot of retailers cope with every day. And eventually what we did is that we added our own layer of machine learning to the CRM. And that allowed us to use a lot of properties, a lot of attributes, like the number of words in each lead, the location where the person was calling from, the location from which the person was emailing us from or leaving a message from, and the items that they were interested in. So we took a lot of properties and we sort of shook them around, and we got results that were by orders of magnitude better in terms of predicting which leads are going to close and being able to prioritize these leads to the sales rep so that they can handle those leads first. The other thing that we did with the CRM was routing. So normally you're going to have either a round robin system or like a first person who's available is going to get the first leads that's on the top of the list, or you're going to have a manager that's going to pre-allocate today's work to his team and say like you're going to the first rep is going to handle the first 10 leads and the second rep is going to handle the next set of leads. What we found was that different people do a better job handling different types of leads, and that could be by gender, by geography, by age group, and also by item. So some people were better at higher end items, others were better at lower end items. And the same machine that we built to integrate into our CRM was able to predict which sales rep is going to have the best performance for each lead and allocate the leads dynamically accordingly. And this becomes complicated because sales rep tend to go on and off duty, and you want to have a 24-hour allocation. So every time the roster changes, you need to reshuffle and redistribute the leads. But this had like really orders of magnitude improvement on the ability to convert opportunities to actual deals. There's a lot of out-of-the-box solutions for this, but you really need an expert to make sure that they match your business. A lot of them are vertical agnostic, and a lot of the time when you're doing inbound calls, when you're doing multi-channels or omni-channel businesses that have to consolidate phone calls and emails and mobile and web, then you really need somebody who understands how your business works and how retail works and how to combine this sort of system with that. So Sucharita, back to you.
Yeah, this is an incredibly rich opportunity to help improve conversion and to really make sure that customer service and the customer experience is as strong as it can be. One of the biggest pain points for shoppers, we of course know, is when they have to call a call center. And that usually indicates that there's some problem, that some expectation hasn't been met. And to be able to identify information about that and to not just put it in a queue that's a first come, first serve basis can be a big opportunity to make sure that you're matching a very skilled, kind of the right level of skill from a customer service rep or some type of call center rep and their capabilities with whoever the customer is and whatever question or issue that they may have. Being able to leverage data points, Lior had mentioned earlier, things like, for instance, understanding how many words that a customer may have put into a particular request, or is it the time of day, or is it related to a specific kind of topic, and to be able to take advantage of that. In some cases, some of this information can be automated and sent back, and we'll talk a little bit about chatbots in a subsequent slide, but and certainly there is a time and there's a place for automated solutions, but in some cases you have very high value interactions that customers that are extremely high spending, or they have a question about something that is an extremely high value transaction, and you want to make sure that you are addressing those customers in an appropriate fashion that helps to lead to conversion and lead to customer satisfaction, because often at that point of an interaction, it's an opportunity to lose some of these customers if the experience isn't a good one. And the more that you can take advantage of any data and any insight that you have to support routing that could be different, or to support matching of customers with customer service representatives, that too can be incredibly valuable. So we just want to say that, so often when we think about AI and ML, it's often just about kind of improving marketing tactics, or leveraging voice for order taking. And what we want to make sure comes across here is that there are so many other places that are critical to the customer experience that are touch points where data can help to support the customer experience and ultimately drive more value for your company as well. Back to you, Lior.
Thank you. So the last use case we're going to talk about is combining NLP, natural language processing, with personalization for the ultimate search experience. And, every shopper shops online at a different journey, but overall you can categorize them into just a few buckets. The first bucket is people that start with their favorites, do a really quick adding to basket of everything they shop every week, and then they move on to like the things that are special for this week or this month, for the birthday or for the holiday, or for the family dinner. And that's one category. The other category are people who shop by offer. So they go on, they scan the offers, they pick the items that are sort of attractive to them, and then they go on to the rest of their shop. Another bucket that we're seeing is people who shop shelf by shelf or aisle by aisle online. They just walk through the categories, pick the items that they need, and at the end maybe scan the offers or search for a bunch of items that they haven't used. But overall, we see about 20 to 40% of online shoppers using search with every transaction. That's regardless of whichever path they're used to taking. And about 15 to 20% of searches on retail websites come out with item not found. So people either because they made a spelling mistake, or because of language barriers, or because of bad data hygiene and bad or not good enough indexing of data from the retailer side, they don't find their products. And those products are probably in stock. They came to the store because they expect to find that product in stock, but they're having a hard time finding it on your site. And many times they just go, if the item is important enough, they would go to a different site and make their entire shop on a different site because that item is important and they couldn't find it. And on other sites, if you look at Amazon, if you look at Walmart, you'll find that they invest a lot in search to make sure that when somebody is searching for an item, they actually find it. So what the best practices that we've seen out there is companies like Twiggle, who invested very heavily in creating a natural language processing that's able to predict what the customer is meaning when he searches for something. So let's say a customer wrote batteries. So that's allowing him to predict which batteries he needs. Or let's say he's looking for blue shoes. Which blue shoes is he looking to find, and make sure that they're optimizing and personalizing the results according to the customer. Now we recommend, with what we're doing in Litmus7, is combining that natural language processing, like Twiggle is doing, but adding another layer, adding to that the historic transactions, the purchasing patterns, the profiling of the customer, to make sure that he is getting exactly the product that he's searching for, and optimizing the chances that he's going to add to baskets item, the first item that he's going to get when he gets the search results. And measuring the impact on this investment is very easy. You can A/B test and benchmark the experience and the results in the conversion between such functionality and what you had before. And we think that also in doing this investment will allow retailers, especially in e-commerce, to plan and navigate the customer journey, because you're able to get the items to the person, to the visitor, and to the shopper faster, and allowing him to focus later on the items that you want to promote, on your recommended items with less noise. So he's already found everything he needs, but now it's your turn, and you have all his attention to promote the additional items and grow your share of basket. Sucharita, back to you.
Yeah, and I think, Lior, you made some really, really great points here. The truth is that when we look at on-site search results, so often retailers have just basically relied on the existing taxonomy for their inventory, and that is basically how things get matched. And if there is a way to search for something beyond that, very few retailers are able to deliver, which is why consumers will often default to Google or in some cases to Amazon in order to find something abstract like great dress for a prom or good dinner ideas. I mean, those are things that retailers could and should be able to respond to, but unless it's much, much more specific, like for instance, black dress or, kind of canned vegetables, retailers often do not have that capability. So the idea of integrating natural language processing, which is everything from, as Lior mentioned, misspellings of words, to just even verbiage, and being able to abstract what does this particular product represent, and what are other ways that consumers could be looking for this product, and for what types of scenarios would products like this actually be a meaningful search result. That's really what the heart of this type of machine learning really is, and this is highly dependent on kind of great technology. It's dependent. It often doesn't happen overnight. It often gets built over time because you need to have a number of experiences where consumers are looking for different things over periods of time, to get a sense of what can be valuable on a results page. But right now, the truth is that the way that retailers are looking at this isn't cutting, isn't adequate, and the more that one can improve the experience and get not end up with null search results, the better. And that's really the heart of what we're talking about, and why this is so important. And when retailers say, they want to invest in AI and ML and have a great AI and ML strategy, it's not just about having a strategy for Alexa or Google Home. It's about kind of taking advantage of data that you have from customers on things like this, like what are they looking for, and have you done everything that you can to match your inventory with their reasons for being on your site. Lior?
Thanks. So Sucharita, I know that you had a few more topics and examples for AI that you want to talk about.
Yeah. And I will walk through a few of the examples that we have here. And one of the things that I think is important to keep in mind is that arguably AI and ML have been around for a number of years within retail already. I would even argue that with respect to artificial intelligence, all of e-commerce platforms could be kind of a skin of it, because it really is about taking orders that would have gone to a call center in the past and basically automating that entire process. We also know that solutions like configurators or task management solutions are really about creating solutions that can be done or on a mobile device that were previously managed with the help of a shift supervisor, or with the help of an interior designer, or someone who is manually executing solutions for someone. with respect to machine learning, technologies like recommendations or markdown optimization have been around for decades, and these are things that that as an industry they've become relatively commonplace and have become indispensable to a number of retailers. Solutions like site availability that can surface, and this is part of that anomaly detection of is there a problem with how fast the site is loading or the speed with which it's loading. These are all things that that absolutely have happened for years. I would even argue that within the market research world, when you get your survey results and it can automatically spit out charts and give you a top line summary of that data, that too is machine learning, because it's really automating a whole bunch of processes that would, if you could do it manually, but it just simply automates that task and very quickly surfaces that same output that you would be able to create if you had more time and energy. So all of this is just my basic point being that we've had executions of this for some time. And retailers have actually been very data rich and have leveraged a lot of the data that they have had in this very smart way over time. Now, on the next slide, what I want to talk about is some opportunities to think about with where we go next with respect to AI and ML, because there are still inefficiencies that exist in the retail world that technology can absolutely improve and solve. And it ranges the gamut within the online retail world of addressing merchandising and the checkout experience and the fulfillment and customer service experiences as well. In the future, I expect fully to see technology like robo-buying to happen in the future. In the financial services world, they have robo-advisors that help to plan wealth and help to plan, they automate investments for financial advisors and their clients. And in the merchandising world, so much of the buying and allocation happens manually, but with the amount of data that already exists as to what items sell at what prices in what regions, the opportunity that companies have to automate some portion of that experience is just simply something that I think is waiting to happen. There are things like dynamic pricing algorithms in merchandising that are also incredibly important. We know that consumers often will react very, very favorably to lower prices, but at the same time, you have a profit hurdle to meet that you want to make sure that you're not selling things below cost, or you're not selling things below your competitors' price of an item. And to be able to use data to gather information in real time as to how others are pricing particular items, and then to match your item in real time is a technology that's also new and emerging. A significant area of AI and ML that is often talked about is in the customer service world with chatbots, and that is basically automated live chat interactions that can take advantage of data sets of information that often are about where a package may be, or how many units on hand could there potentially be of of inventory. And these are the things that you want to be thinking about. I don't want to go through, and I will certainly allow, kind of any of the attendees here to have access to more of this. But these are definitely the types of things that we think in the future we'll see more of, because AI and ML certainly have great opportunities in many, many applications in retail. I'll go over the next slide as well pretty quickly. But this is from a framework that we have at Forrester that maps a number of sub-technologies within artificial intelligence. And these are technologies ranging from natural language generation to speech analytics and text analytics. And some of the opportunities that we think are most interesting are things like being able to transcribe conversations that may happen with a customer service rep or with somebody in a physical store. And much of that information can then be can then be applied to a knowledge base that can then increase a chatbot's ability to respond, for instance. At this moment in time, a lot of knowledge bases are manually created, or they're created as a result of email responses. And to be able to then have a whole new set of inputs that is related to speech and text can be also really, really powerful and transformational. Even things like recommendation engines, which are already ubiquitous, to be able to leverage them in a smarter way across even broader data sets, or take advantage of things like video recognition and image recognition, or even sound recognition, can be really, really powerful in executing what is a better and stronger AI and ML strategy. I think that the next set of slides are some recommendations that Lior has. Lior, you're on mute.
Sorry. So we have a few recommendations for you, and then we have a few minutes left for Q&A. So first of all, I think it's really important to understand that the price of implementing AI and ML, either internally or using third-party vendors, is really low today. It's been in a steep decline over the last 5 or 6 years, and it's a very approachable, very achievable technology today. There are a lot of practitioners and a lot of developers and talent that can help you make that journey. It's also a bit risky because it's not trivial, and a lot of it looks like magic. And you have to make sure that it's real and not just a trick. You have to make sure that it's actually working, and you're actually going to get what you're hoping and what you're paying for. We also saw that a lot of third-party tools are very generic, and although they claim to be retail specific, the layer that is dedicated to retailer and retail applications is usually pretty thin. So we recommend that you focus on vendors, on tools, on third parties, on products that are really retail specific, that understand the retail business and are optimized to solve the problems in retailer. And lastly, don't fall prey to the hype around exotic technologies. These things tend to work if you use them right, and they might give you amazing results that you weren't even able to dream of. And this could be really order of magnitude improvements to your KPIs and your bottom line. Sucharita, do you want to add some recommendations of your own?
Oh, these are incredibly important and valuable. And really, what I think is most pertinent is to make sure that as you go through your AI ML list of dream projects, that you go through and kind of check it against what Lior had mentioned. Are you doing anomaly testing? Are you leveraging natural language processing? Are you doing personalization as intelligently as you can? These are all the types of things that you want to make sure that you're considering and that you have weighed in as inputs, because it's important to recognize that all AI is not just about voice assistants, or it's not just about kind of driverless cars. It within retail there is a lot of data that every part of the organization has, and how you take advantage of that data, how you digitize that data, and how you use that to make smarter decisions the next time around are what really separate data-rich organizations from those that may struggle a bit more.
Thank you. Those are really important points. So now we have some minutes for some Q&A, which Somak is going to moderate.
Yeah, we have received a couple of questions, and we think we have time to just squeeze in two. Beginning with, what have retailers been doing well and not doing well as it relates to personalization? Maybe Sucharita, you can take a stab at this.
Yeah, I think that retailers often have the basics of personalization, which is often that they have a pretty good sense of attributes in their product catalog and how those attributes match. So if consumers are looking for, say, a red dress, they're pretty good about also having other red dresses that are similar. Where I think retailers have an opportunity is to take it to that next level, because there are so many nuances within a basic classification as red dress that are where there's more granularity and there's more ability to separate. Is it what's the occasion? What's the fabric? What is the use case that the shopper may be looking for? Pricing, and all of these elements are incredibly important to take into consideration and can be the difference between a good and a bad recommendation. You also have inputs that can affect the retailer's business overall, like, for instance, also leveraging and layering things like units on hand, margin, and there are certain types of rules, like, obviously, if you want to showcase the products where there are more units on hand or where the margins are the greatest, and to find that confluence of what's the right product with one that can actually deliver better volume for your business, that's where really some of the greatest work is.
Perfect, Sucharita, thank you. So there's one question. So I'm reading the question verbatim. From your experience, do you have any recommendations regarding lead scoring systems? Maybe Sucharita followed by Lior.
Yeah, well, with respect to scoring systems, I think that some of the better options are really, they're going to vary from merchant to merchant and what your needs are, and what data and inputs that you have. But certainly, with respect to inbound customer leads, some of the best opportunities are if there's any information about if this is a new customer versus a repeat customer. Is there any insight that you have about the customer's profitability? Is there any insight that you have about the price or the margin of the current